Some of the content in this episode may not be suitable for children under the age of 18. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed during this program do not necessarily represent those of the FloBro show. The claims made by
Just stop being so sensitive.
Somebody was shooting at us from the palm trees with RPGs, and it was just crazy in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning.
You had RPGs coming at you?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
They missed.
Yeah, they missed, thankfully. Didn't hit us, but it was scary enough to make you pucker a little bit, right?
Oh, sure.
The highest pucker factor I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Thank you for tuning into the FloBro Show, presented by Florigins.
Welcome to the FloBro Show. I'm Blake, the natural born filmmaker. To my right, I've got Aaron with your Florida guy. And to his right, we've got JD with Florigins. And today, our guest we have on Todd Hughes. He is a disabled veteran who fought in Iraq. He's also my friend. And we're going to discuss his time in Iraq, and we're going to talk about some of the local organizations and resources here in Florida that help veterans. Let's get into it. So Todd, what's your story? So you fought in Iraq.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, when, what's that timeline?
So I was in Iraq from March 2004 to March 2005.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the U.S. Army, 1st Cavalry Division, 615th Aviation Support. I say all that now, but so I was in an aviation battalion. I was a tow missile guy, but I was in a mechanic company, so I didn't really have a job. I ended up being the commander's driver, so we did a bunch of convoys, a lot of escort missions, escorting like different generals and politicians that would come over there sometimes. Wow. Or since we were a mechanic company, we'd always take a wrecker with us and a lot of mechanics. And one time, this general's Humvee, the drive shaft fell out on an overpass. Terrible area to stop, right?
Yeah.
So my buddy, my gunner, Reyes, he jumped out of the turret, ran up there with some duct tape. We called it 100-mile-an-hour tape, and taped up the drive shaft, and off we went, and he got a general's coin for it.
No
so
kidding.
It was pretty cool. So stuff like that. I was there during the first Battle of Fallujah. We did QRF for that, having the wreckers and the flatbeds. We'd go in and pull the wreckage out and stuff. So I mean, that was kind of cool. And I did a lot of perimeter guard. The towers that we had over there, got to make sure nobody snuck through, and had some interesting times on the towers. And then we did a lot of guarding the locals, because we tore stuff up going in there. So we would pay the locals like $3 to $5 a day, which was a lot of money to them, And or actually, I think it was a week. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. So,
Yeah.
But they would come in, and build a whole building out of little bread ricks. Like they were. It was crazy. Like in like a couple weeks, there's this building. It's like, cool.
Wow.
Never do that here.
They would build that for you?
Or
they would
some
just
for us, some for them, because
Okay.
we were rebuilding the base we
Right.
took over eventually to give stuff back to them,
Okay.
know. So, but we had torn it up so bad that we had to fix stuff. So.
Yeah.
What was the base you were at? Like, where were you stationed at over there?
I was at Al Taji. They changed Camp Cook for a while, and then they had to change it back to local names.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, it's kind of in between Fallujah and Baghdad. So I was right off MSR Tampa over there, and got to do a lot. So I know, Blake, my my story a little bit. The reason I had to get out early was because I had a IED blow up next to me. We were coming back from a escort mission, escorting 82nd Airborne up to Balad, and then on the way back, aviation unit, so we had helicopters with us, and they radioed down, "There's something in front of you." And I got out, and we were by this mosque, by this little village, and I remember, like, I took a picture of these little kids and stuff, and I love doing stuff with the kids over there. Like, I'd purposely leave a bunch of trash in my Humvee afterwards, and the little kids that were on base I'd pay them like $10 to come clean out the truck, And,
that's cool.
I mean, that was a lot of money. I mean, their parents were only making a few bucks a day, and here they were getting $10 to clean out some trash.
Yeah.
Or I'd give them $2 for a cold Coke, a bottle of Coke.
Yeah.
The brown stuff, not the white. So, but yeah.
You use U.S. dollars?
Right. Yeah. They preferred that because their dinar was so unstable when we first got there. The stuff with Saddam's face all over it was worthless now. And then I think while I was over there were like 2 iterations of the dinar, the Iraqi dinar, and I've heard it's changed several times. I didn't really pay attention to it much. A lot of people were buying it up as much as they could, thinking it was going to be worth a lot like the Kuwaiti dinar did. And
I still have some in a drawer.
Yeah.
I bought a little bit of it just because I was like, well, if something does happen, I'm not missing it. I still have it because it's worthless.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, if I sell it, I'll get a couple $100 or whatever. But I'm like, well, what's a couple $100 going to do? I might as well hang on to it for 50 years. And maybe someday I'm like, holy crap, this stuff's worth.
Yeah, I've got some of the stuff with Saddam on it and some of that.
People I knew went nuts with that stuff.
Yeah.
They went crazy. Thousands and thousands of dollars on this stuff.
I know.
People went crazy.
They're like, you need to buy in. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Instead, I bought a bunch of fake Rolexes and sent them home to my
There
whole
you
family.
go.
For
Probably made
Christmas.
more money doing that than you would.
But yeah, so I had gotten out of the Humvee and walked up to see what was up there. And at the time, we were used to the pressure plates, but I guess they were just starting to use the detonators. And as I got close and saw what it was and turned around, the Iraqi or the insurgent, whatever, was hiding in the bushes and detonated it. And I think I was maybe 50, 75 yards away. Not super close, but close enough that the percussion, whatever, got me. And like I was out of it, but I was still standing up. So there was a gunfight that took place and everything. And all I remember is them yelling at me, Hughes, come on. And I'm like, what's going on? And ran back to the truck, and my head was killing me, and got in, and we took off, and I started falling asleep on the way back, which never happened, and my commander, he was like, hey, are you okay? You need me to drive? I was like, I got this. And so then I started having more headaches and stuff and realizing I had a brain injury from it, so, and then that kind of ended up having some other issues where my whole right side, I've got neuropathy and stuff from all the nerve damage from it. Didn't realize it at the time. Found all that stuff out later. So couldn't run anymore, Can't be in the Army being fat and not being able to run. So ended up getting out when we came home, and that's the short end of it.
Wow. So do you know how long you were just standing there for?
I mean, it all probably happened within just a few minutes. It was real fast.
That's crazy, though.
But
Was anybody else affected from the blast other than you?
Yeah. So my gunner, Reyes, who I had mentioned before, was the mechanic. He didn't remember any of it either, because he was in the turret, like up out of the Humvee, and I guess he got the blast and didn't remember. Everybody else was inside the trucks or further back. So we were the only two that ended up, and he's got severe headaches and all that stuff too. But only his head was out. So I guess like he didn't have like the neuropathy and stuff that I did. My whole body, I was closer, and I guess got affected more. So we still keep in contact. We're really good friends. He just lives up in Georgia. He comes down and visits sometimes. And
Nice.
So it was weird because he came down to visit, and a couple of our other battle buddies were over visiting down here at my house in Sarasota. And they're like, we were talking about it, and they're like, yeah, and you were just standing there like an idiot in the middle of the gunfight. And I was like, what are you talking about? So I didn't even know that happened until years later, So
You could have been hit by a bullet just standing there too, right? I mean,
I could have been, yeah. So
you got lucky. I mean,
blessed,
unfortunate,
lucky, I think definitely had some guardian angels watching out for me, I believe. So
Holy moly!
I'm sure they lit him up pretty quick.
Oh yeah. They said he was done. So man, but
That's crazy. So now because of what that caused you, what do you get to because you get really bad like migraines and headaches and stuff?
Yeah, I get cluster headaches really bad, kind of in the same realm as migraines. So so I'm 100% disabled by the VA, mainly because of that and the PTSD I get.
Yeah.
I've got an amazingly blessed life, but I just end up with stupid depression for no reason. And but I mean, there's a reason. You know, I've got the brain injury and all this stuff, but there's really no reason for it because amazing friends, awesome support system, love my job, love my family. I couldn't ask for a better life, you know. So just if everybody'd stop moving down here and developing, right?
Exactly.
That's what we blame it on.
Yeah.
So
Why is everyone in Florida depressed?
I know
It's because too many people are moving here.
Because we can't go enjoy Florida anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, blessed to have that disability rating as well. Because I mean, the government, even though the government coming to the rescue is a scary thing, right? But but they, you know, they do compensate me, so I get free health care. The VA system's not that bad. I mean, people gripe about it, but I mean, the civilian healthcare system's got just as many issues. So I feel blessed to have that. I went to school for free. I'm a high school dropout. Never thought I'd go to college, but went to college. Ended up being class president, you know, and all kinds of stuff. So that would have never happened without the Army, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And my kids can go to school for free using the GI Bill since I'm 100% disabled. I don't have to pay property taxes. That's amazing.
Nice.
So that saves a lot, especially having a big piece of property. And free license plate, get to park downtown for free, all kinds of crazy stuff that comes with it. Florida's got hands down the best state benefits when it comes to veterans benefits, especially if you're 100% disabled. So
Good to know.
yeah, got hurt. It sucked, but tons of blessings that came along with it.
Well, at least they're taking care of you.
Yeah. How old were you?
21.
Whoa. So you went in when you were 20?
I initially joined when I was 17. I joined the National Guard while I was in high school.
Okay.
So I'm originally from Oklahoma and joined the Oklahoma National Guard, Field Artillery.
Okay.
Went to Fort Sill, home of the Field Artillery, and then went active duty right as 9/11 was happening. Ended up taking a tow missile job. Went to Redstone Arsenal in Alabama, and that's where I met my wife, Jessica. She's from Sarasota, born and raised. So when we got out of the Army, we moved back here, and that's how I ended up down here. And I love it. I've built an amazing life here. Like I said, amazing friends and family that I've got down here. So never thought I'd be in Florida, you know, being from Oklahoma, podunk, little nowhere. It's like, oh, Florida's awesome. And then I moved out here and I was like, there's more rednecks out here than Oklahoma. But
especially out there where you live.
Oh man, Oma's crazy. But I love it out there because it's quiet. There's not a lot of people, you know. It's the development hasn't reached out there as bad. So even though I work in town, I get to escape. So on my drive home, it's like peaceful. So,
yeah, that's awesome out there.
I hope they never reach it out to Hardy County either. I mean, that kind of needs to remain untouched.
It does.
I mean, eventually, both coasts are probably just going to meet in the middle. And they're going to keep building east and west from the water and freaking merge in the middle. And I don't know.
Not like an official update, but in Manatee County, we talked. One of our previous episodes was about local government during our election. Well, during our primary election in Manatee County, and we basically got the people we wanted to keep going to November 5th to get voted in. And we're basically switching out the commissioners because the commissioners were in, you know, the developers' pockets.
Yeah.
And that's why there's so much development going on in Manatee County. And now it's like unofficial, but it's like because of the change that we voted in or are voting in, it's going to it's slowing down. Like they're not going to be able to get what they want right away as easy now.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah. So it's like there is going to be a slowdown because like right now, like there's like thousands of acres over the past, I would say miles. There's miles, which is crazy. Miles of just land that they clear cutted, that they extended Liquid Ranch out into. And it's like, thankfully that is going to slow down. Obviously they're going to finish building all that crap. But anyways, so yeah, it's like good news about it's slowing down. It's not going to go out that far as fast now. I thought there was
the new people coming in are pumping the brakes to the fast, rapid development.
Yeah.
Saying like, all right, hold up here, y'all. have done enough damage. Let's think about this.
Right.
Because
We needed. Yeah.
we're going to have a county left if we keep going at this pace.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. We need that. We needed that 20 years ago, but we didn't get it. So it's better late than never, right?
Yeah. Back before Fakewood Ranch was a...
Yeah. So I just heard that they got that Home Depot that was supposed to be in Lakewood Ranch. Home Depot pulled out from doing it because they had too much flack from...
I didn't even know there was one going to be out there.
Yeah, over there.
We're off University?
No, 70, kind of back behind.
Really?
44th and...
I had no
White
idea.
Eagle.
Like back.
Oh, I know where you're talking
Like
about.
close to
Oh.
Lorraine and 70, back behind...
They're
over
gonna
there.
be putting like stuff in there.
They were going to put a Home Depot over there.
Whoa.
I
And
saw them clearing all that out because I
Yeah.
drive that way usually to go to work.
yeah, I think it's like over there. So they Home Depot said, we're not going to do it. Too many people don't like the idea, and I think it's just a lot of like ranch people not liking the idea. But it's like a lot of the people that are complaining are the ones that have moved down here to made it like that to begin with. So it's like, who is complaining really? I don't know. But that's an indicator that they've kind of slowed the progression of development, residential or commercial, because people are like, enough's enough, regardless if we're from here or not. Enough's enough.
Well, it's
So-
weird in the state of Florida. Like, this is the first time we've ever seen like social media do anything really positive. Like, it's like when they're talking about the state park stuff and putting like amenities and golf courses and all that in state parks, social media lit up. I mean, people went nuts all over Florida.
yeah.
So it's like we're starting to see where people are now using it in a good way. It's not just trolls on there trolling and stuff like that. People are using this widespread access to people and actually making some change. And it's cool to see that voices are actually getting out there with the use of social media, which is typically 90% negative world to be involved in. And especially me, I do all the social media stuff, and it's like just troll central. They might as well be under a bridge. I mean, there's so many trolls on there, and but it was really cool to see with the state park thing how it actually happened, and with the voting and different stuff like that. It was cool to see people going on saying things and stuff happening as a result of it. And so I think we're at a time where things are turning a little bit when it comes to social media. Like, I think we're gonna, like what was it Travis Thompson was talking about, we're gonna start seeing the positives of what social media can do, coming up here in the future. We've seen the negative for so long that I think we're going to actually start seeing some of the positive abilities of it. So
People finally waking up instead of going woke, right?
Yeah. Exactly. I'd rather be awake. And that's one thing with our podcast is like we're able to use it to educate people, bring people on, talk about things that it just and then being able to use social media to spread it out. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So your time over there, you were in for a year before you got hurt. Do you have any other experiences you want to share about that 1 year of over there besides the...
So I actually did 3 years on active duty.
Okay.
But just 1 year over in
I
Iraq.
gotcha.
So, but I mean, it was powerful for me. I consider myself a strong Christian. I'm not really religious, but definitely a believer in Christ. And for me, I wouldn't be here without Jesus. I had an opportunity. I did a little bit of training with some of the Iraqi National Guard is what they called them at the time. I don't know how many times they changed the name of what they called them, but we would do like some one-on-one training. So I had several people that were put on hours with me on perimeter guard. And this one individual, he used to, I'd see him getting fistfights with some of the other Iraqis to come and be with me that day. When they were dropping him off, he'd see that I was there and he'd be like, but one day he asked me, he's like, you're a Christian, right, mister? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, my mom is very sick, or my mother is very sick. They were very proper on how they spoke. And will you pray for her? And I was like, holy crap, because I knew he was a Muslim. I'd seen him do his prayers and stuff, and I was like, yeah. So I stopped and prayed with him, and he asked me some questions, and I was young, definitely didn't know everything, don't know everything now, but it felt so good to have a Muslim from the Middle East ask me to pray for him or pray for his mother, and then continually, he'd come back, he'd be like, my mother's doing better, thank you for praying, and we'd talk about her and stuff, and it was really good.
Wow.
But that relationship didn't just happen. Initially, the first few days of me being with this guy, I think what kind of drew us to being closer together, probably could have gotten in trouble back then, but I've been out long enough not to get in trouble. But we were on perimeter guard on the Charlie Towers, which usually at night it was pretty rough, a lot of commotion and stuff. And we take a lot of like random fire and stuff, people just trying us. So, but during the day, nothing ever happened. I had to drop the biggest deuce, man. And I was like, listen, I'm going to go downstairs. And it was like these steep steps, right? And I was like, don't do anything. I'll be right back. I was going to try to just squeeze it out as fast as possible. And he's like, okay, Mr. Alibaba, get you. And that's how they'd say bad guy, right? Alibaba. And I was like, if he does, I'm going to kill you. And so I took my Kevlar and my vest off and set them down so I could run down real quick. And I'm running down, and all of a sudden, I just got lit up, like bing, 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 like all over right in front of me. Like, whoa, like it felt like the Matrix or something. Like everything went super slow motion. And I just like was like, oh shit. And I turned around and like ran up there, and he was down in the corner crying. And I remember just going up there, and like I was pissed, and I just started like beating the crap out of this dude. And while I'm trying to put my Kevlar and my vest on, and then like everything died down, and got my mind together, and I was like, dude, why didn't you shoot back? Why didn't you give me cover fire? He said, I don't know how to shoot my AK. He's like, we go to the range next week to learn how to shoot.
Oh my goodness.
What the heck did they put you out here with me for? You don't even know how to use your gun. And I had only shot M16s at that point, and then 30-30s and stuff like that as a kid hunting, but I had never used an AK. So we sat there and figured it out together, and I was like, okay, if it ever happens. But he was freaked out that when I came up there and started punching and kicking him, that I was going to kill him, because he thought that when he told me Alibaba was going to get him or get me, that I thought he was serious. And I was like, no, I knew you were joking. And but yeah, and so that actually, as weird as it was, kind of brought us to have like a better friendship. I mean, didn't know the guy's ins and outs, but he used to ask me to go out to the village with him. I never did, but he'd be like, come on, there's lots of girls that love the American soldiers. And I was like, dude, I'm married, I'm good. Didn't want to come home with diseases, even if I wasn't married. So but yeah, he was a good guy. He'd bring me gifts all the time, Christmas cards. Even like at Christmas time, he brought me a Christmas card. Not just him, several other Iraqis. So that was cool. Didn't expect that. But yeah, so I think that brought us to the point where he even saw, after I had the brain injury, I was starting to have headaches really bad, and we'd be on duty together, and he'd be like, are you okay? And like, no, I'm hurting, and I didn't know what was going on at the time. And so he showed me some trick where you do this little massage and it relieved pressure. And so it's cool, but yeah, going on to be able to pray with him and talk to Jesus about him. And I wonder about him a lot, but lose track of all those people when you leave. But that's.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So he was an Iraqi.
Yep.
But then he was also like helping you. Like he was also like in the tower with you.
Yeah, so he had
like
joined the
stationed.
military. He was young. I mean, he
Okay.
was probably like 17, 18
Okay,
himself.
gotcha.
And so we came over there. We obliterated their military, right?
Right.
Some of the people that had been in before came back in as officers and higher enlisted people, I guess. I'm not sure exactly how their rank system was.
Yeah.
I wasn't that involved. I was lower enlisted myself. I
Yeah.
got out as an E3, so.
So he was enlisted in the Iraqi army, but he didn't know how to shoot his gun?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know. So they were doing training. It wasn't like us where they go to basic training and then get sent somewhere.
okay.
I
Right.
guess they would come in and do a little bit of training here and there, and
Like
as
on the job training.
Right,
Oh my
exactly.
goodness, that's not the kind of job you want to be
No.
learning on the spot.
No.
Jeez.
And I kind of figured, growing up in a place like that, everybody would know how to shoot
Yeah.
an AK, right? Durka.
That's I guess that's what we assume. I just assume
Wow.
that's you get your first one with your birth certificate or
Right.
whatever. And
But
Did you ever, this is a crazy question, but when you were in the towers at night, did you ever see anything crazy besides people? Do you have any weird stories?
So, the same tower that I was with him in, there was this farmer that was in front of us. He had a big field, and he used to walk up to us. Not all the way up to us, but to where we could clearly see him. He could clearly see us, and squat down and take a shit in the field, staring at us. It was like his way of like flipping us the bird, I guess.
Wow.
One of the oddest things, man, ever. So yeah, that I got one night I was out there, and it was a quiet night, and I was looking around, and I saw something moving right outside the fence, and I went down there, and it was a hedgehog. So I caught a hedgehog out there, and I played with it for a little while and let it go. And you know, so
you ever seen any of them camel spiders?
I never saw them. Some of our friends,
I only seen them on Google, and I'm like, they look massive, and I don't know.
I'm glad. So I never saw them, but like, did you see that camel spider last night running in between our? At that point we had those trailers, kind of like the FEMA trailers put up. Yeah. And I was like, no, I never saw any.
Oh, man.
I'm glad I didn't want to.
Dude, most wildlife and bugs and stuff don't bother me, but if I ever saw one of those, I think I'd turn into Jesus and start running across water. Like, I don't know. Those things are...
Some of the mechanics in them.
They're not even like a bug. They're like a freaking animal. Like they're huge.
And they're not really a spider. They're just called. They look like a spider. Like spiders, but I think they have like 2 less legs or something.
Yeah.
But, some of the guys in the motor pool, I guess, caught one of those and caught one of the big scorpions and had them fighting in a box.
That sounds interesting.
You looking it up?
I'm trying. The internet's not working. I'll have to use my phone.
Yeah, they're freaky looking.
Dude, what?
And they get big, like really big.
I saw a picture of somebody in the military that was holding one that was like either mating with another one or fighting. I don't know, but there was like 2 of them together, and that's the picture that kind of went viral. Yeah. So like I thought 2 of them in this photo was what one of them were, and I was like, dude. But then when I saw one of them, even it was like. It was crazy how big they get.
Yeah, I saw that same picture.
Yeah,
and that's what I thought at first.
Yeah, and they're holding it like out in front of them too, so it looks like this thing's like 4 feet long.
It's like when you catch a little fish, you're like,
yeah, exactly. Oh, JD's all about the fish profile pictures.
Yeah. I know. I've heard of those things getting in your bag, and when you come back to the States, it just gets out. Like you didn't know it was in your bag. Yeah,
I never heard of that. That's crazy.
And everybody comes to Florida, so what you're saying is there's probably camel spiders in Florida now.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Dude, I'm looking at it. It's creepy.
Not only is there herpes monkeys, there's camel spiders.
Yeah,
those things are gnarly.
So they're like, oh, there it is. Dude, what?
Yeah, do an image search. See if you can find that one picture we're talking about.
Say it again.
It's that top picture.
Oh, was it on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to the images.
This?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, is that 2?
Yeah,
that's 2.
But when I first saw that, I thought that was a 1.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, the myth.
Dude, so they're like...
I mean, they're still... Those
they're still probably
huge.
like that big around, right? I mean, they're big.
Damn.
That's like as big as like a hat.
Yeah.
Right? Well, bigger. No, that's like... Holy crap.
It probably says the size on there.
Well, did any of your buddies get bit by one of those things? You know anybody that got bit by one?
Nah, I never heard of it.
No.
No.
Wow.
Craziness.
Dude, that's weird.
We got to see lions and stuff in Saddam's zoo. So I'll have to send you some pictures. I have some on my phone still.
Do you want to win one of my handmade Florida flags? I'm JD, founder and owner of Florigins. Check out Florigins.com for all of our art apparel and accessories. For every $3 you spend is equal to 1 entry to winning one of our handmade Florida flags. Why are you still here? Go to Florigins.com.
Whoa.
So
Yeah, we could pop them up there on the episode.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, what other kind of animals did he see? Or did he have?
A lot of...
camels, obviously.
Yeah. I mean,
Did you ride a camel?
I never rode a camel, but while we were in Kuwait...
Did you ever ride a camel spider?
Oh, that would have been awesome. 2 of them, right? Surfing. When we were in Kuwait, we were doing some practice firing, getting ready to go over, and we were shooting 50 cals. I wasn't shooting. I was sitting at the back, and I remember just watching the line, and this Kuwaiti guy comes up running, whoa, 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 like screaming and stuff over the berm. Everybody's just lighting it up with, I don't know how many, 20, 50 cals out there. So ceasefire was called, right? And turns out he took his herd of camels behind the berm, and a 50 cal round had bounced over and hit one of his camels, shot the leg off, and he like fell over, I guess. And he came running up over the berm in the middle of live fire with 50 cows.
Oh my goodness!
And then he was the idiot that didn't read the signs not to go back there. But we paid him. I don't remember how much, but camels are, I guess, worth more than your wife over there. Whoa. So we had to pay him for his camel that we shot because of his stupidity.
Wow!
Like that was crazy. But it was cool. Like, you know, driving out here, you see a herd of cattle. Over there, you'd see herds of camels, and it was like, this is cool. It's different. You know?
It's weird what like the normal is for different people.
Yeah.
You know, like I was watching an episode of Grand Tour of the British Car Show or whatever the other day, and they're like in Africa, and there's just elephants walking through, and they were freaking out about a tree because they travel so much that there's like these elephants, and I thought that's what they were freaking out about, and they get out of their cars and they go run over to something else, and the elephants were just like part of the scenery, and I'm like. I thought, man, I'd freak out if I saw an elephant, but I don't live with elephants, so it's
smash your car or step on it.
Yeah, like there used to be these people on Rye Road that had a giraffe, and that was like the coolest thing. Yeah, I used to ride my bike up there just to see it sticking its head up, and
wow,
yeah, it's just crazy when you're like alligators here. Yeah, people come from other places and they freak out. And like I got one in the pond behind my house, and it just swims around, and I'm usually looking at some bird or something instead because there's some alligators are such a common thing, but. When you're not from somewhere that has something, like I've never seen a moose.
No, I've never seen one.
And they're much bigger than I thought they were from pictures, and I'd probably freak out if I saw one of those, but people that live around there don't care or whatever. So it's just weird. Like camels to me would be a really interesting thing to see a whole bunch of like just roaming around.
Yeah.
Did you get to eat any of the food while you're over there?
Yeah, I love the local food. Like they're working with a lot of the locals. They would bring food and they'd share. That's like part of their culture too, to give. So like I'd partake in the food, and I loved it, man. Like the falafels, I never realized when I first had one, I thought it was like this meat patty, but it's all veggie stuff, and I didn't know. So I came home and I went looking for like this little meat patty thing, and I didn't know what I was asking for or looking for, you know, but I eventually found it. But yeah, half of a lamb, or not lamb, but goat cut and put on a big, huge platter with rice, and everybody just eating with their hands and stuff. The shawarma, all this, it was, I enjoyed the local food. It was good. Even I'd share my MREs sometimes. Funny story. One day I was having a bad day. I don't remember why. And I had, I think it was like pork rib or something MRE, some nasty MRE, and I was opening it up for lunch, and the guys are like, Mister, you know, and doing the sign for food, and I was like, no, it's pork, and I was like kind of happy it was pork. I didn't want to share with them. They were getting on my nerves that day or something, and the guy's like, it's okay, Mister, I am Christian. You got me. I gave him the whole MRE. So, but yeah, and then I was like, why am I having a bad day? And because that guy, he had half of his leg missing, you know. So I was like, he's out here busting his butt, working in the heat, and I'm just sitting here gardening him. Why am I having a bad day? So yeah, some really good people over there like that. And he was a foreman, and he had lost his leg fighting for Saddam in the Iraq-Iran war. So I got to hear some stories from some veterans from those crazy wars too, you know. So pretty cool. So got to meet some locals that were tortured by Saddam's soldiers and stuff. This one guy showed me his chest, scars all over, because they would hook him up to like car batteries and zap him. They were trying to get a confession for something he didn't do.
Oh wow!
Again, this was him telling me. I don't know how true everything was, right? But supposedly they had him, and they raped his wife in front of him, and then they took his baby, like a young child, I don't remember how old he said, and held it by the feet and busted its head open against the wall.
Oh my God.
Just terrible stuff. So most of the locals that we met were extremely happy that we were there. You know, like, we hate Saddam, we're happy you're here. Like that, I'd hear that stuff all the time. But it wasn't everybody, of course. But I think most of the insurgents that we started fighting, because we didn't know we were going to be fighting going over there. They had just captured Saddam. We were going in thinking we were going to rebuild stuff, you know. We knew there was going to be danger, but didn't think it was going to be like it was. And then all these insurgents came from all over the rest of the Middle East, right? And crazy stuff that happened. But that one Iraqi soldier I told you about, he told me that like the sheiks and stuff would come into the villages, or people that ran some of these different groups would come in and talk to their local leaders and be like, hey, if we can get recruits, we'll take care of their whole family for the rest of their lives, especially if they die for us, you know. And so I guess a lot of the locals, they'd be enticed by that because they had nothing, or they had lost everything, or, you know, their father died fighting us coming in or something, you know. So, I mean, now that I'm older and I'm home, I try to think of it like, what if somebody invaded us, you know? How would we act, right?
Yeah.
You say you're here to help us, but this is my land. I'm going to fight.
Well, that's what one of my buddies was in the Marines in Iraq and Fallujah and all that stuff, and he was talking about when they were going into Fallujah, like I guess to take over, to set up or whatever.
Yeah.
We were sitting outside the Starbucks on the corner of like Cortez and 41, looking out at the intersection. And he said when we got there, he goes, people were hanging out like we are here, like just sitting here having coffee. And he goes, and here comes a foreign military. He goes, and what do you think we would be doing right now if some other military were to come in and try to take over while we're sitting here having our coffee? He's like, we'd fight back.
Exactly.
He goes, they didn't know what was going on. They just saw some foreign militaries coming in trying to take over. He goes, and it was just chaos. And he goes, and it was like, at first he's like, I didn't understand why they would want to fight back. He goes, but now that I'm back here in the States and I'm sitting here looking around, he's like, I'm thinking like, man, I'd do the same thing if some other military were to come in and try to do it. And he said it was just, I mean, he described a lot of the same kind of stuff, just chaos and just confusion and, you know, stuff like that. So it is interesting to think about the fact that it is a foreign military. Like, it's not our foreign military. It's a U.S. military, but when you think about them being the locals and us coming in, it's got to be confusing for so many reasons.
Yeah. So like, I'm proud to have served, you know, but thinking back about going over there and the things we did, like, it's kind of, you know, like, man, that sucks to have been a part of genocide. I don't know. I mean, really, I mean, we killed a lot of people, ruined lives for generations, you know. So, but that's the name of war, right? Government, all governments do it.
Yeah.
What do they say? All is fair in love and war, or something like that.
Yeah. At the time, did you even know like what was going on? Because you're basically kind of just told what to do, or like you're told like why you're there. But now it's like, did you not realize until after? That you're like,
so there was a little bit that I realized. You know, I wasn't anybody special. I wasn't on any special operations teams or anything, so I didn't have a bunch of information. But we all knew, we were like, why are we going to Iraq? Wasn't it Al Qaeda that attacked us? You know, like 9/11, and isn't that the reason we went to war? And everybody was questioning that, but you know, like, okay, we're being told we have to go here because there's weapons of mass destruction, right? And I remember seeing this big painting of Saddam standing next to the Twin Towers on fire and like smiling with a cigar in his mouth, and like, so, well, maybe he did have something to do with it, you know. And I think it propaganda to get us more hyped up, you know, and young, and was, you know, my whole childhood I wanted to grow up and be a soldier and fight the bad guys, right? So we were all young and pumped up and ready to go, and didn't think our government was going to lie to us about stuff, you know. And like, well, there's weapons of mass destruction. Saddam's a bad guy, which, I mean, he was. I think his sons were much worse than he was, definitely. But at least there was some stability over there before we went over there and took Saddam out. Now it's been unstable ever since. So, but we definitely questioned why we were over there. And while we were over there, we were like, why are we still here? What's the point? You know, like, we're ruining these people's lives. What are we doing? But, you know, we were the peons, you know, like our opinion didn't matter.
It seems like that area of the world has always been unstable.
Yeah.
I mean, all the way back to the Bible. I mean, it's been conflict over there forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and everybody talks about praying for peace in the Middle East. I'm like, it's as long as history's been history, it's been going on, and it's
they
just
have a different mindset than we do. They don't think about stuff. I mean, if you're happy to send your child to go blow themselves up, I mean, we're not going to be able to change that mindset,
right?
Ever. So, that's sad. Talking about crazy stuff I saw. One of the days that I was typically on duty guarding like the local workers I was talking about, I was off this day, and I remember laying in my cot. I think I had just gotten a little TV. Like, it was so cool. We had a little TV with a DVD player, and we were watching, we call them Haji movies, right? Like, they'd burn like 5 movies onto a DVD, and I was getting a chill day, and huge explosion knocked me out of my cot. Like, what the heck, you know? And I get up and I go to see what happened, and I guess this guy drove a car into the gate that I was usually at, but the Americans weren't at this part. It was just the locals. And the guards didn't stop him or shoot him because he had his wife in the passenger seat and 2 kids in the back seat. So playing on our Western values, right? Like, this guy's got his family. He's not a threat. Drove right into everything. By the time it was too late, sped up and blew it up and killed so many people. And
oh man,
going out there and like that stuff messed with me more than fellow Americans dying, because he killed a bunch of people that were coming to work with us, because they were working with us. They were locals just trying to rebuild their community, make some money, take care of their family, and then going down there and seeing locals that I had built some relationships with, like their body parts everywhere, and that's a smell you'll never forget either. Yeah. But that I think got to me more than anything that ever happened over there. So crazy.
What did they do with the bodies after that?
I don't know. I wasn't involved
part
with
of
any of that. They had like morgue teams. Like that's a job I wouldn't have wanted to do. There was, so the military has jobs for everything you could imagine. So yeah, that's a terrible job. A lot of people get really bad PTSD from that. Like they may never see actual combat, but they're dealing with bodies, local bodies and American bodies, and I wouldn't want anything to do with that. That's
no, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd imagine the smell though. I mean,
it's like
burning bodies out, right?
Yeah.
It's burning.
It's burning, it's guts. So, last time I butchered a pig, like pig guts smell just like human guts, man. And it's like, I had to walk away because we were doing it for a Memorial Day hike for SRQ vets. We raised this pig, and 5 of us over there, all combat vets, like who's going to shoot him? None of us wanted to shoot the pig, so I was like, I'll do it. It's my pig. But then when we went to cut him open, and that smell hit me, I had to leave, Wow. And then cooking, like I grew up, my uncle's from Mexico. We did a lot of Mexican stuff, and we'd have Mexican style pig roast, where we'd cook fresh chicharrones and all that stuff. But now I still love the chicharrones, but I don't want to be around like the initial cooking of it because of the smell. It just reminds me. So
yeah, we just talked about that in a previous podcast where that's one of our strongest memories is through smell.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Wow.
So definitely a lot of triggers. I know a lot of veterans that different smells trigger like their PTSD and stuff, and like it'll just bring an onset of depression for no reason. Like makes no sense. Like I said before, why I have like all of a sudden I'm just depressed for some, like why? Probably because I smelled something that reminded me, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like an unconscious depression. It's not like something just happened and now you're depressed. Or even a memory. It's just literally just you just start feeling depressed.
Yeah, I'll feel really sad, and like sometimes I'll want to start crying. I'm like, why? I'm not a little baby, but it'll just hit me, and I don't know why. Like, and then it'll be hard to do stuff. Like I'll be like, man, I just want to stay home today.
Yeah,
love my job, but then all of a sudden I'll be like, I don't want to go to work.
Wow.
Or have something set up to go do something go to the range. I love going to the range, man, I don't want to go today. I'll try to figure out an excuse to get out of it, but then I'm like, why? Like, I love doing this stuff. I don't need to feel like this. So yeah, it's hard. It's something I battle regularly. Not suicidal or anything like that, but it messes with me. It really does. And I can see why so many veterans that have true PTSD like that turn to alcohol and drugs and stuff, because it's an escape, Like, I didn't drink for the first 5 years at all because I didn't want to give into that. I saw so many of my friends give into that,
right? And
ended up losing a friend from it. He just drank himself to death, and his body shut down, couldn't handle it, and that killed me too.
Yeah.
But I'm again blessed, amazing support system, awesome family, awesome friends, Even your family. Sometimes I get like sad. I'll go out and I'll mess with the birds, And, yeah.
We just put Sam in with JJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're getting along. It's cute.
That's
as heck,
awesome.
dude.
I love Sam and JJ. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had JJ here in the studio.
Yeah, our
Did
first
you?
podcast. I had
That's
JJ
awesome.
with me the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one time JJ got out and we were staying out there, and I came up around the corner. I was going to work that morning, and I forgot the guy's name that works there sometimes in the morning. He's like, hey, I can't get the bird. And I went over at first. I thought it was Sam, but it was JJ. And she came right to me. And then I put her in the car with me, and she like freaked out in the car and like crapped all over me. But that was when me and JJ bonded though, so it was cool. Somehow she had gotten out of the feed thing, like it had. She squeezed it open and came through.
Open. Yeah,
but that was funny.
She's the only bird I trust.
Yeah,
that I'll hold like that. I know she's not gonna bite me.
Yeah,
I'll get
what
scared
about Sam?
though. I haven't held him.
Okay. Like he
I'll
tries to hump my hand.
Oh,
he'll like get on my hand and like start like I'm like no.
Well,
Sam.
maybe him and JJ will have babies.
Hey,
they call it babies, bird babies.
Chicks.
Hopefully they lay eggs.
Yeah,
chicks.
I think they lay eggs, right?
Yeah,
That's the weirdest thing.
Maybe they'll
I hope
fall
they
in
have
love.
babies. That'd be so cool.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I call dibs.
Okay.
Are they the same species?
Yeah, they're both umbrella cockatoos. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you can definitely tell that they're a male and female because JJ's small and he's big. Like he's really big.
Yeah.
Like probably almost twice the size of her.
Really?
I don't know, maybe not twice, but
Wow.
He's quite a bit bigger.
yeah,
though.
he is.
They're
Bigger.
the same color too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He gets more excited when he sees people. His flop, his top part will come up like all the time. Like he'll see anybody and he's always excited. Sometimes it takes JJ a little bit to get excited, but he's always just like, oh, people.
Yeah. He always, every time I'll hide behind the tree back there, I'll be like, Sam. And he'll be like, I'll see him look. I'll be like, Sam. And he looks over, and then his thing goes up, and he starts like bouncing up and down. I'm a good boy. Yeah, that's what he says. I'm a good boy.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
It's cute.
But then Nikki too. She. Whenever I go in with her, she like
Is she the
gets
red
up
one?
and she like tries to lick my lips. Like she tries to stick her tongue. I'm like, no. But
I can't.
Start calling me Birdman over
you
here.
know,
Birdman.
Birdman.
Todd. So now you work with different like veteran nonprofits, right?
Yeah,
In the local area?
So for me, getting out, like I said, I was devastated, right? I didn't want to. All I wanted to be was a soldier forever. My plan was to end up eventually being a ranger and special forces, all that stuff, right? But apparently God had other plans for me. But so being out of the military, my first 5 years I was lost, didn't really know what to do, didn't want to admit that I had stuff wrong with me. And my wife pushed me to start getting treatment and stuff, and I did. And then I went to school using the GI Bill and started getting involved with volunteering with different organizations. And eventually I became officers in some of these organizations, like the DAV. I'm the senior vice commander for the Sarasota, Chapter 97. Wow. Love being involved there. We got involved with the Vietnam Brotherhood as Patriot members, not as in-country members, but that's a motorcycle club that started after Vietnam, a bunch of amazing Vietnam veterans, and they've been some of the best mentors I've ever had in my life. And unfortunately, they're getting older, and we're starting to lose a lot of those guys. And working, I was able to get a job. I was able to help raise the money and build a veteran center at University of South Florida, Sarasota Manatee campus.
Oh,
here.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And was their first veteran representative there, and got to do a lot. And it's like I'm still serving, but I don't have to get up early in the morning and do PT anymore. But I always wanted to, not in a selfish way, lead my own troops, but lead troops in a way that I could help them be the best possible, right? So now I get to help veterans be like the best possible version of themselves. I work for another local veteran nonprofit now, and just having that backing, it's a blessing to me to help other people, right? And then being involved with so many groups, SRQ Vets, DAV, we've got Combat Riders Association, so many places. Like, just found out, so last Friday, that one of our veterans from the Vietnam Brotherhood who had just passed away that Wednesday, their AC went out. So his newly widowed wife was sitting there sweating. You guys know what it's like right now in Florida, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, man, that sucks. So I called my buddy. He's a retired Green Beret that's now the president of Veterans Air. It's no longer owned by a veteran, but it's still, the leadership's all veterans. And I was like, hey, we've got this situation going on. Is there anything we can do? He's like, I got you. And he called one of his friends to get a temporary AC unit over there. And now we've come together with like 6 different veteran organizations, and we're covering the whole thing because her AC unit was like 12 years old and falling apart, and her ductwork was like collapsing on itself. So even if they just fixed the AC, the ductwork was messed up. So getting everything redone, huge job, and we only had to come up with $5,000 in parts and stuff. He was donating labor and as much parts as he could, and making this happen. You know, so to be able to do stuff like that, and just the last minute call, being involved with all these groups, you know, making it happen, that's keeps me going, makes me feel good. Don't regret what I do where I'm at in my life at all now, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Do you have resources for people that want to get involved to help in the different organizations?
Yeah.
And also, do you have something that we can put in the description for people that need help?
Yeah, absolutely. I can email all that to you. I got,
Good.
you know, depending on what the veteran needs, there's so much help out there, especially in our community.
Okay.
Housing assistance, free therapies, free medical treatments. Sometimes people don't want to go to the VA for one reason or another, or maybe they're not eligible for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And they can go to this other stuff. SRQ Vets has a splinter or sister nonprofit called Operation Rubik's, and they do a lot of different stuff with therapy, the Reiki, like all kinds of stuff. So, and the veteran doesn't have to pay. They just have to be an honorably discharged veteran. And I think it's like at least 6 months on active duty or something like that. But there's retreats. If you're 30% or more disabled, you can go hunting all over Florida for free. Like I've gone on gator hunts and deer hunts and hog hunts, like awesome stuff in places where most people aren't allowed to hunt, you know, and they take us in to go do this stuff. I went deer hunting down on the south side of Naples, right where 75 kind of wraps around right before you hit Alligator Alley. The big preserve that hadn't been hunted in like 20 years, they said. So we went out there. The deer didn't even know what a human looked like.
Yeah.
They were just like, they'd see us and like, what are you? So I was like, okay, bow, you know?
Wow.
So, yeah, huge blessing, man. I've been able to go bow fishing out on Lake Placid, you know, that was cool. The guy that was driving was crazy and rolled the airboat. So I got to spend the night in Lake Placid surrounded by alligators, right? But
Is everybody okay?
yeah, everybody ended up being okay. His airboat wasn't.
Nah, but
Y'all
Those
like
things
flip
don't-
out of it?
Yeah, like it rolled, like it came up sideways and it rolled
yeah.
sideways, and it was like, whoa, we all flipped out. It was crazy.
That's an experience.
Hey, who can say they've done that, right?
Yeah.
They even do some of the python hunts down in the Everglades. I haven't done that yet, but I did go duck hunting down in the Everglades with them. That was really cool. I guess it's like some place where rich people pay a ton of money to go hunting down there, and they took us down there for free.
Wow.
Again, dude, like so many blessings. Like, yeah, I got hurt, but dude, I've gotten to do stuff that if I hadn't gotten hurt, I'd never be able to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Wounded Warrior Project. I know there's some negative stuff out there about them, but they've been amazing for me and my family. We've gone swimming with the dolphins in the Keys several times. I got to go on a soldier ride up in Chicago. We rode on bicycles for 3 days, and I was a lot fatter back then. I was like 360 pounds. I got really depressed when I first got out, and I just kind of blew up like a balloon, man. Like, I always had to run to stay fit, and then I couldn't run anymore. My foot falls asleep, and everything just hurts real bad. So I had to find another way to get cardio to lose the weight. But yeah, so I did this, and that kind of like pushed me to want to be active again, because I was like, I still love it.
Yeah.
I did the whole 3 days. I didn't stop. I didn't fall out of the race, whatever, the bike ride. It was really cool, you know. So got to go through them. They trained me, and I'm a certified peer mentor now to work with other veterans that have PTSD and brain injuries.
That's cool.
So a lot of good stuff from Wounded Warrior Project. That's another good resource. Right here in Ruskin, Kelly has My Warriors Place. That's awesome. It's right on the water. Her son was killed in Afghanistan, and she started this in his memory. And so veterans and first responders can go stay there, and Gold Star families. And it's real cheap. It's like $30 to $60 depending on which little cabin you get. And they have pontoon boat and fishing boat and kayaks and bicycles, all the fishing poles. You just got to get your own bait, but there's a bait shop right there, and it's awesome, you know.
That's cool.
So I even spent
Really cool.
spent some time up there. All kinds of resources.
Yeah. Okay.
But,
So I'm curious, you know, because I'm not a veteran or anything, but I've dealt with like crippling depression for a long time. What is like the mental health side of things like now for veterans? Because I know, especially like with the Vietnam vets coming back, their mental health was not really a thing anybody talked about back in the day. And I know a lot of people, I've had friends that were in Iraq, Afghanistan, things like that, came back and mental health ended up being their demise. I mean, some of them took their own lives and things like that. And, you know, I've had a lot of friends that were involved in that. And being a man, especially military, and my grandfather was military, so it was men don't cry, this, that, the other thing, all the nothing about feelings. So what's changed, I guess, in the last couple decades as far as like the mental health for veterans and things like that? I know there's been some changes, but I'm kind of curious about that.
Our generation, the leadership, you know, when I was still in, it was still don't talk about stuff, right? You're a wuss, you know. You got to be a man. You know, nothing could be wrong with you. But I think getting out, I don't really know what changed a lot of it to make it seem more okay to talk about our feelings, but something changed, right?
Yeah.
And what I've heard from some of my friends that are still in now, I think they realized how it messed them up, and so now they're in those leadership positions, and they're like, listen, you need to get yourself taken care of. If not while you're in, before you get out, and then after you get out. And I think the whole bringing attention to the suicide epidemic, whatever you want to call it, right? They say 22 a day. That's give or take. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. It's not just veterans. It's people that are still serving. There's a high rate of suicide for people that are still in the service because they don't want to seek help, because they don't want to be seen as weak, or they might lose their security clearance, you know, and not be able to do their job anymore. All kinds of reasons behind it, right? And I think there's still a stigma where we don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the 22 a day, right?
Yeah.
But for me, one of the reasons I want to talk about it and share is because, like, I don't care. Call me a wuss, you know? I'll beat you down.
Yeah.
but I have depression and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I need help sometimes. I do. And if you need help, I'm here for you. Now, it still kind of hurts because I see some people trying to play the game, and they see other veterans that have disability because of depression, and they want that free money.
Yeah.
And you can, as a veteran that deals with it, and you may be able to see it too, dealing with real depression, you'll see these people like, oh, I'm going to kill myself because you don't want to help me. Like, dude, don't play that game.
Yeah, right.
Like, go do it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I have friends that have done it because they really dealt with it, and they weren't out here playing this game. Right. So I don't know, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done towards it, but I think those of us that are struggling with it, that are comfortable to come out and be like, listen, it's real, but let's help each other, you know. Accountability, having each other sick. So there's you might start seeing a lot of veterans pop up with tattoos like on their wrist that say it's like the colon mark, right? And then IYG6.
Yep.
So
I've seen a lot of that.
right?
Yeah, I've seen it on car with truck windows, things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's kind of a movement you're seeing with a lot of veterans and stuff.
What is that?
I got your 6.
I got your 6.
I got your 6.
And a semicolon is suicide awareness.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure you know what got your 6 means, right? I got your back, right?
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
just for you non-veterans that don't know.
6?
Oh, yeah.
Like how many? I'm just kidding.
Who, where?
I'm just kidding. Yeah, I gotcha.
But yeah, so talking about it more, I think, is going to help more. But I think there's always going to be the stigma. Like, I don't want people to see me as weak.
Yeah.
So, but we have come a lot further from that generation, our father's generation, our grandfather's generation. Shell shock, right, is what they used to call it.
Right,
and
yeah.
all this stuff. And we're just going to have to keep pushing, you know. We can be men and be tough, but also be willing to accept help when we're broken at the same time.
Right.
And it's not necessarily being broken either. Some people are like, well, that means I'm weak and this and that. Not necessarily. You survived something terrible that most people don't survive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
pretty strong. You just have some wounds from it. Let's help you heal.
Right.
You know? Let's heal
Yeah.
together. So, and that's why there's so many different organizations out here doing so much stuff. You know, that those hunting trips, those are healing for me. Going out, being out in nature. Being out there.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't even, most of the time, I don't care if I get anything. The gator hunts, I definitely wanted to get a gator, right? But yeah, it's, there's still a long ways to go.
Right.
But
yeah, and it's funny too, because like before, because I'm coming up on a year sober here in about a week.
Awesome.
I had well over a decade-long battle with severe alcoholism. You know, I drank myself into a Salvation Army at the homeless shelter in rehab. You know, got out in January, and I keep telling myself I'm not going to bring this up every podcast, but somehow it always comes up. But it's funny because like I didn't talk about anything until I was in there, and once I'm looking around, I'm like, I freaking drank myself into a homeless shelter. Like this is something that maybe is actually like a real thing. And then we had counselors assigned to us. I didn't use the counselors for the first month I was in there. I was like, I'm good. I just got to get through here. I got to finish my time here, get out, get my social certificate, you know, whatever. But it was like once I started using the resources and actually talking about stuff and digging down deep to the reasons I had the depression, things like that. It was like all the stuff that I never talked about because it was like, oh, you're a wuss, or you're not strong if you do it or whatever. It's like now if I have any feelings, I just freaking talk about it. Like I get it out there. Like you're only as sick as your secrets is what they say. And so it's like, I just want to get it out. Like I'm like, if I have a bad day or I drove past an empty beer can and it made me think about a drink or something like that, it's like I freaking talk about it. And you know, Alcoholics Anonymous, I go to those meetings and
awesome.
And same thing, I used to think those things were like a bunch of crybabies sitting in a circle, and I used to avoid going to those meetings for years. And going to one of these meetings, I'm like, that's not at all what this is about. It was like very little of it has to do with stopping drinking. The rest is mental health and being a better person. And so it's interesting once you kind of cross that line into, I don't really care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm going to get the help I need or talk about the things I need to talk about and get it off my chest. And like it's kind of like you said, I feel good about it now, and I'm like, I'll freaking kick your ass if you call me a wuss. I feel great, like I'm getting this stuff out, and you know, and it's like, it's kind of a community that's built around from the alcoholic standpoint. I'm sure the veterans are similar, but the community that's built is like we all got each other's back too, and it's like you call this guy a wuss, we're all gonna get you, and kind of thing. And so I think in general in society, mental health is something that's talked about a lot more. It's widely more accepted. There's a lot of veterans. You know, I follow like Blue Collar Brawler. I follow him on social media, and he's got a lot of stuff going on with veterans. And you got a lot of these big badass dudes that are out there talking about mental health, and it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to call him a wuss, like, you know. So it's kind of like they're bringing exposure to something that nobody used to talk about. I think it's important, and I think it's really cool. And and I don't think anybody's a wuss for friggin' talking about feelings. But
no.
5 years ago maybe I did, but I've changed and realized the importance of it. So that's kind of the backstory of why I was curious as far as that.
And it goes both ways, and like sometimes I'll hear some of the veterans be like, oh, what's he know about PTSD? He's not a veteran, but I'm like, dude, you don't know what he went through in his life. I mean, people that spent time in prison, right? I mean, they're like, well, we were on high alert for a year, so we've got all this prolonged PTSD. Can being in prison, watching your back, what if I drop the soap every day, I mean, that stuff will give you PTSD too, And so, it's different. Went through some different stuff, but even like some of the stuff I do, like I facilitate a couple monthly dinners where we just get together and have camaraderie and eat good food, called Let's Buddy Up, and that was started by Janine Lutz. Her son Lance Corporal Lutz had committed suicide, and she wanted a different way for people to have an outlet. And so she also wanted it to be for first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, because they, every day they're out there risking it, going through stuff, So we get together with veterans and first responders and just make fun of each other, and I always bring crayons for the Marines, so I love when we get firefighters and police in the same room, because their banter is just as bad as Army versus Marines.
They both have bad mustaches.
Right. But yeah, it's important, man, to have those groups. Even there was a group that I used to help out with. It was mostly older veterans, Vietnam era, but they did fly fishing. They tied flies, and that was just, they'd get in there and it was therapeutic for them to do all this stuff, and it was like, that's cool, I never thought about that. So I helped, kind of facilitate that for a while at one of my offices. And Operation Healing Waters, and great group, man. And then they get together once or twice a year and actually go fly fishing too. So it's pretty cool. They'll go to places like Montana and fish in the streams and stuff. And it's like, man, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So,
that's really cool.
There's one thing before we wrap up I wanted to ask about that we didn't talk about is how, like, you have procedures to help with your, like, migraines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and they've kind of changed over time. Like, you've gotten different ones, and now you finally get ones that are, like, actually help you, like, really good. How long before you started getting, like, didn't you say you weren't really getting help for your migraines, like, medically wise?
Yeah. So for a while I was in the VA had a TBI program, and I was going there, and they were trying to push all these pills.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a pill popper, right? And it was this and that, and it just wasn't working. So I started seeking some local treatments. So believe it or not, like, I started getting acupuncture, and there's a awesome lady, Acupuncture Anywhere, Dr. Martha. She'll treat a disabled veteran, like, no questions asked, and won't let you pay. And she started doing this, and I never thought that acupuncture would work. You know, I was like, sticking needles in me, and I am the biggest baby when it comes to needles. So one of my friends, he's a Vietnam veteran, Navy guy, submarine guy. He's like, I'm making you an appointment, and you're going. I was like, all right, Joe, I'll go. So I went, and she's like, do you want to watch? I was like, nope. I was like, kept my eyes closed, and then all of a sudden I started feeling better, and I was like, oh crap, I've got needles in me and I'm feeling better. Like, she was like hitting whatever buttons it took to help my headache feel better. So that was like my initial, like, I was starting to get some relief, because I was getting to the point where I would be down for like 2-3 weeks at a time, where I was like inoperable. I couldn't go to work. I couldn't do anything. It was debilitating, and I was scared. I was starting to have memory issues, like waking up thirsty and like going to the kitchen, but then standing there like, what do I do? You know, like, so it was pretty scary for me. And depression started getting worse. You know, I actually, you know, I was to the point where I didn't want to live anymore, because it hurt so bad all the time. And I was trying these different medications, and they just weren't working. They made me feel sick. And so then the TBI doctor, she's like, well, they're starting to do Botox. Do you want to try Botox? I was like, Botox? Like, why? That's like what the movie stars do, right? But I did it. And so now every 3 months I get 30 to 35, depending on where they give the shots. I actually just got it done Friday again, so if I'm looking pretty, that's why. I got 31 shots this Friday, and I don't really completely understand how it works. I guess the toxins, Botox, right, kills the pain receptors, I guess, in the head. That's my understanding of it, but it helps tremendously. It doesn't take it away completely. So I do that, and I take another shot once a month, self-administered at home. And then I've got some different pills that I take to help regulate it, like a blood pressure pill that I guess somehow targets the blood pressure in my head. I don't know. But that's what they tell me, right? So I do that, and then I have another just-in-case pill. It's not narcotic, but it knocks me out. And I go to sleep, wake up, I feel better. So I still have bad headaches. They come and go. You've seen me where I've been like, bro, dude, trouble talking and stuff. And so, yeah, if you would have had me on here last weekend, I would have been
different.
I wouldn't be able to talk like I am. So, and my recall and stuff like that, it's just slower and everything. So
what is the actual injury, I guess, as far as like, is it like the fluid in the brain, or like what do they know what exactly causes it from the percussion? Like, what?
Yeah, it was a bad concussion. Just like getting hit, I guess, playing football and stuff, right? So I used to play football, so maybe I don't think I had any concussions when I played football. I was a lineman, but maybe I did, and this kind of was like the last trigger to make it terrible. You know, I don't know. But yeah, so that's what they told me, is I got a really bad concussion basically from it, and so no shrapnel or anything like that. Right. They've done tons of scans, because sometimes like it feels like something's just swelling in my head, and like I just want to drill a hole in my head to relieve pressure, not actually do it, but and it just hurts so bad. Like my eyes hurt, my nose hurts, my ears hurt because it just feels like everything's trying to squeeze out of my head. And but then by the time I get to the doctor and they do the MRIs or the CAT scans, like, well, everything looks okay now. I'm like, yeah, well, it doesn't feel like everything's trying to squeeze out now, you know?
Yeah.
So I've never gotten any of those done while I've been in that much pain, unfortunately.
It's kind of like when you take your car to the mechanic, it's going to run the best it's ever run kind of thing.
Exactly.
I wonder if it's because, like, after you get a concussion, you're not supposed to, like, do anything. You're supposed to, like, rest because your body's trying to heal whatever happened, like, in your brain. So I wonder if it's because you're under high stress, then you literally are driving, and then you probably you were still doing stuff. Like, you weren't, like, you probably didn't, like, get to take a nap right away.
Yeah, because that happened, it was in the wintertime of 04, right? And so I was still there until March of 05.
Right.
So, yeah, several things happened, you know.
Yeah.
A couple more fights and stuff happened, and
right.
Got lit up by RPGs one night, you know.
Dude,
and
that's crazy.
so
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be the worst of everything to happen, but then I had several other close calls. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably didn't help.
No.
Man.
But
You had RPGs coming at you?
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
That's crazy.
On towers again, right? We were out there, and there was like this palm tree, like a date farm, and somebody was shooting at us from the palm trees with RPGs, and it was just crazy in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning. Just
Oh my goodness.
They missed.
yeah, they missed. Thankfully, they were blowing up right behind us. Crazy story. Last story. We have time.
Yeah, we got time.
I was out there, and we had this new guy that just got shipped over and put in our unit. And that night, he was like, "Man, I'm so nervous to be out here. It's his first time to be on guard duty." He's like, "I want to get my first gunfight over with." And it's like, "Well, we're on the Charlie Towers, you know. I mean, kind of crazy. Something might happen for you, but no reason to be scared, right?" Just trying to talk him down. And then I had never been shot at by an RPG, but I heard a pop. I had rockets and stuff go by me or over us and stuff, but usually mortars and stuff. But so I hear this pop, and then whoosh, like we felt the air come off of it, dude, like crazy. So I jumped down and grabbed the radio behind the sandbags that we had up in the tower, like. That would do a lot if we actually got hit, right? But and then he's still standing there, so I'm like trying to radio, and I pulled him down on top of me, like, if you're gonna get shot, I'm gonna use you for a shield at least, right? But he was just in shock, like getting shot at, which I mean, I get it now, but at the time I was frustrated, right?
Yeah.
So and then the Arkansas National Guard was manning the main radio that night, and so I'm trying to call for air support. You know, we always had helicopters on standby to pop up for stuff like that because you couldn't see them. They were shooting from so far away in the trees. And they would have popped up. They got their infrared. They would have seen them taking them out right away. But the National Guard's like, no, break, get off the radio. The redneckest accent you've ever heard, right? And they're like, we're trying to figure out where these explosions are coming from. I was like, right behind my tower. And I'm trying to give them coordinates and where it's at and what tower we're on. And I forgot which one we were on. You know, it's been so long. But they're like, no, get off the radio. Stop. And like, I was pissed. And so after everything calmed down, like I think 3 or 4, maybe 5 RPGs, but they all blew up at the building behind us and didn't hit us, but it was scary enough to make you pucker a little bit. Right?
Oh, I'm sure.
The highest pucker factor I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But yeah, I thought I was gonna die that night for sure. Wow. And then so after they come and pick us up from the towers, I was just pissed, and I was like, "Who's manning this radio?" And it was some old fat E7 Arkansas National Guard guy, and I was just like, "You're a piece of crap," you know. Yeah. But yeah.
I could do an entire podcast just on my experience in Arkansas, but
don't kick their sisters in the jaw.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first firefight? The first time you got shot at? Maybe
the first time I got shot at that I remember, like direct, like where I thought I was going to get hit, was the one where I was going down to drop a deuce. That was.
Oh wow!
I had rockets and stuff land close to us, like because I wasn't out kicking down doors.
Right.
I wasn't infantry. I wasn't out there like fighting on a regular basis. Right. So most of our stuff was indirect stuff like that. Like we had so many close calls in our company, not just me, with rockets and mortars coming in. One of my buddies. I believe it was Cohort. He was a mechanic, and he drove one of our wreckers, and he was backing it up into one of the bays, and he stepped out of the wrecker, and as he stepped out, a rocket came right through the headrest where he was just sitting.
Oh my goodness!
And hit the back and rolled down and rolled out of the bay and didn't blow up. Like,
holy
crazy. Cow. So I believe our unit was protected. God was there for us, because that happened. One of my sergeants, Caraballo, he was in his cot and just set up as a mortar or something landed outside of our building, and the glass that was up at the top of the building, it was like one of those long just windows all across the top. His section fell out and landed on his pillow. Like, crazy. One of our other female NCOs that we had with us, she went back to her room, and a mortar had gone through her cot where she would have been sleeping. Dansby was in the shower, and he thought somebody was in there messing with him, beating on the walls. A rocket or mortar came into the stall next to him and like bing, 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 like bouncing around. Didn't blow up.
What? Right?
So,
oh my God.
So like, and that's just a few. Like, we had so many of these. Thank God the insurgents didn't know how to shoot properly or had crappy ammo. I don't know. Like, it was probably old World War II surplus, you know, but Russian stuff, you know, but still, like, me and Irvin, we were on the airfield towers one time. That was like the easiest towers, because you were just on those just in case something happened. The other towers got overrun and they came into that. We had to protect the airfields. Yeah. We had a rocket land in front of us, and like, we both just like looked at each other like, we're alive, because it landed down there. Like, shrapnel would have shredded us. It was so close. Like, but it just landed, and we're like, holy crap, we're alive, you know.
Wow.
And but our radio was dead. We wanted to call for EOD to come remove it, but we had to just sit there and stare at it and hope it didn't blow up for the rest of our 12-hour shift or whatever. But yeah, so blessings, you know. We did have an Alpha company. I was Bravo company. An Alpha company, we had one of our female NCOs. She did a rocket landed on the airfield by her and a group, and it didn't blow up, but a piece of shrapnel did go up and hit her in her butt. And I think she was the only one from our unit that got a Purple Heart. So crazy. No, we did have a pilot that got shot through the arm, but he was okay. He just got shot through the arm. So, but yeah, no major casualties in our actual unit, you know. So definitely we're blessed. We had stuff happen for sure, you know. A lot of people came back kind of messed up. Our unit went back a few times, and they did lose some people going back. I didn't go back, of course, but definitely the survivor's guilt, you know. It sucks to know people that continue to go back and you're not able to go back, but so sorry, went from let me tell you one more story to a few more stories. Right?
You're good. But, you're good.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah,
I think this has been great. I'm so happy you got to come on.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, thanks for telling your story with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for doing what you're doing, you know. Supporting the community, getting the truth out there about stuff.
We're trying to support and build a community at the same time. It's like when we had Travis Thompson on here, his network of people with all the conservation stuff, and like you with your network of people. It's like we're trying, kind of like what he's doing, we're trying to bring different people from different groups together and leverage resources from all over the place and try to build something that, you know, we're trying to do more than just a podcast, I guess you could say. We're trying to build something out of this, and
we are,
you know, so we appreciate your time coming in here and talking to us and talking about your experiences and what you're doing now to help people. And, you know, it's great what you're doing. So
it's a pleasure, man. If you guys ever have anybody,
and thank you for your service. Thank you for
thank you.
Thank you.
It's only so weird. Like most veterans feel weird, I believe, hearing thank you for your service. You know, so if you ever hear anybody be like, "Oh, don't thank me for my service," they're just, they don't know how to say thank you, right? So I mean, thank you, but the reason we did it was because we wanted to serve our country, right? So thanks not really needed, you know, but I'll take that free meal on Veterans Day though.
Oh, absolutely. But well, if it makes you feel any better, do you know who else I say that to?
Who's that?
People that drive Toyota Priuses.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we gotta thank them for saving the gas for us.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing joke with a buddy of mine. Every time I see a Prius, I say thank you for your service. I drive an old Cadillac, so thank you.
My gosh.
Making up for all your emissions, right?
That's funny.
Man, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I think about all the time I see Teslas. Like, thanks. No, I don't have to. I'm worried about it.
I thought about getting a sticker for the back of my Cadillac that says I identify as a Tesla.
Yeah, I've seen some of those, and I've seen
The fake
you can
charger?
get the magnet. Yeah, to
Yeah,
put on
dude.
the
Those
back.
are cool. Those
Yeah.
look legit. I saw one on the back of a Jeep, and I thought it was for real.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
funny.
man.
They do make electric Jeeps
We'll
now,
have to
though.
get them
We're
on
way
our
off track.
trucks. We'll have to
Yeah.
put them on our trucks and maybe get front row parking and
Yeah.
just
Yeah, because
fake
they
plug it
actually you
into
could dock the charger right
Yeah.
into it, like you're
Yeah,
actually
plug
charging
her
it.
in,
anything.
baby.
It'd be even funnier on my car. People would be like, "What?" or your old
Yeah,
truck.
my truck. That's the farthest thing from electric.
That thing runs on like corn oil or something.
Yeah. I love when your buddy put the engine in the Tesla and took it to the mechanic.
Oh, Ross, yeah.
That was funny.
That was funny.
They're so confused.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So next week, same bat time, same bat channel.
This episode of the FloBro Show is brought to you by Florigins, Florida's most authentic lifestyle brand. Celebrate the rich culture and vibrant spirit of Florida with Florigins' high-quality apparel, handcrafted art, and unique accessories. Visit Florigins.com and use code FLOBRO, FLOBRO, for an exclusive discount. You can find the links to the Florigins gear we are wearing and the art on the studio wall in the description box below.